every month.
Wow, I feel like I stepped back into a movie. Bing Crosby, okay. So our theme this month is joy. So joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. And that was written many, many years ago by the French mystic. And we finished our talk last week with that, and we're going to open it up with that again today. Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. We've been talking about joy all month, and there is such a difference between happiness and that inherent joy, because we're talking about the joy that's within us. Even when we can't feel it, it's present, it's there. So we spend each month this week focusing on a variety of ideas around that quality of joy, many of which were inspired by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And it's in this book, this small book. An author spent a week with them, and the book is the Book of Joy. And many different insights are in this book. And I want to pick up today where we left off last Sunday. On that Sunday, we looked at 4 of the 8 pillars of joy, according to the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop. So the 4 that we've been going over are the 4 pillars of the mind. And today, we're going to look at the 4 pillars of the heart. So we're moving into that. It all flows perfectly together. And we look at the 4 pillars of the heart, but it's going to be brief because it's something that we talk about a lot here. All of those qualities that are so important for us to access that quality of joy and truly understand what it feels like. So to move us into those pillars, 4 pillars, I want to take a slight step back to the 4th pillar of the mind, which we talked about last week, which is acceptance. Acceptance, really big. The pillar of acceptance, that's the quality. And in the book, it says, acceptance is the final pillar of the mind. And it leads us to the first pillar of the heart, which is forgiveness. You can't forgive unless you accept. And it's a practice, and it's not for the faint of heart. So back to the book. When we accept the present, we can forgive and release the desire for a different past. It is what it is. It was what it was. Yeah? It's done. We must move in. For us to really get in touch with that feeling, that quality of joy, we must move into this present moment and accept all that is taken. We don't have to approve of it, but we accept it for our own peace of mind so that we can feel the joy. Because our joy gets really damped down when we fill it up with all the would've, should'ves, and could'ves of life. It is, and it's a practice. That's why I say forgiveness and acceptance are not for the faint of heart. It's a real practice to continuously do for our entire life. So acceptance is the final pillar of the mind and leads us to that place of forgiveness. And we accept the present, and we can release it. And so forgiveness is the first pillar of the heart, the pillar of joy. So I love the end statement of that reading that I just read, where we can forgive and release a desire for a different outcome, because it confirms, it really does confirm a definition that I've used for forgiveness for a really long time. And a lot of you know, if you've taken classes, I've been teaching radical forgiveness since 2002. And I taught it last year. This year, we're doing our prosperity class, which is an absolute blast. We're having a good time in that class. But the forgiveness is really, really important. You can't even be prosperous unless you forgive. The acceptance and forgiveness are key. So, releasing the demand that someone or something be any different from what they were or are. can't change, right? It's our willingness to forgive. The way Nelson Mandela, you want to talk about forgiveness, the way he handled the South African situation when apartheid finally ended in the late 1990s. One of the greatest lessons, it is one of the greatest lessons in the transformative power of forgiveness. He forgave. The atrocities of the apartheid had been in place for 75 years. Mandela himself was in prison for 26 years. So upon his release, he became president of a country that was ripe for a bloodbath, truly, of revenge. Really a lot of, it was right on the verge. Yet he brought an amazing, peaceful transition to this country, this one man, through his consciousness. And he did it. It was the hallmark, but what he did was not revenge, but forgiveness. And he lived it, and he taught it. And in the Book of Joy, the Archbishop is being quoted as saying, now I don't pretend that forgiveness comes easily, but we do have a nobility of spirit. We've spoken of Nelson Mandela as an amazing icon of forgiveness, but you and you and you and you have the potential to be the instruments of forgiveness, each and every one of us. We cannot say of anyone at all that they are totally unable to forgive. I think that all of us have this latent potential. This is in the book. Indeed, no one is incapable of forgiving, and no one is unforgivable. And that is huge. It's huge. It means we have to accept. And as I said, we don't have to approve, we don't have to like it, but for us to truly experience joy and love, we have to be clear. And revenge and hatred and holding grudges blocks the flow of life. It blocks our joy. It blocks our love. And that moves us into the sixth pillar, which is gratitude. And we speak a lot about gratitude here because there really truly is so much to be grateful for that it bears repeating. Every day, think as you wake up, I am so fortunate to be alive this day. I woke up last night. No, I didn't. I woke up this morning. I went to bed last night. I gotta tell you, I had nightmares all night. So, and then I would wake up and then go back and have the same nightmare. You ever do that? Yeah. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. So it feels real. So when I woke up, I was so grateful. I was very unsettled, but I was so grateful that this was not the real thing, because it was very unsettling. But I woke up in gratitude, and I made myself go there. It's not like I woke up feeling, joyful. I didn't. But through that discipline of just embracing and being grateful for every day that I have a precious human life, and so do all of you. We're all unique. We're all beautiful. And I'm not going to waste it, the Dalai Lama said. I have a beautiful life, and I'm not going to waste it. There's another man, talk about forgiveness, the Dalai Lama. Lost his whole country, you would think he lost it, but he became this incredible presence on this planet. And he's still traveling to this day, spreading love and peace and forgiveness. And so I'm grateful for the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop. So in the Book of Joy, it's written, gratitude is the recognition of all that holds us in the web of life and all that has made it possible to have the life that we have. And the moment that we are experiencing, this moment we experience, Thanksgiving is a natural response to life and may be the only way to savor it. Both Christian and Buddhist traditions are probably Judaic also, and a lot of other spiritual traditions recognize the importance of gratefulness. It allows us to shift our perspective. You can't be grateful and be holding any kind of grudges or discontent in your heart. They don't go, those that, everything is vibration. We are energy beings, and the vibrations do not sync. Gratitude is way up here. And all of the unforgiveness and the revenge and the hurt and everything are down here. And we feel them. We're human. We do feel them. But we want to keep raising our vibration. And the best way to do that is through gratitude. So Buddhism teaches us to be grateful. Even with our enemies. The Dalai Lama calls them our most precious spiritual teachers or sacred friends. So I guess you have to be born into Buddhism to really, that's a big, someone who you perceive as like did you wrong or something else as your sacred friend. It's a leap. But who's got the peace there? Who's got the peace? He said this, well, it's written in the book that he said, when we are grateful, we are not fearful. And when you are not fearful, you are not violent. When we are grateful, you act out of a sense of enough, not out of a sense of scarcity. A grateful world is a world of joyful people. Grateful people are joyful people. That's why we're Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. Let me finish what he said. A grateful world is a happy world, and I know that it doesn't look that way when we watch the news or listen to the news, or if you can't escape it. I even go on the internet, there it is. So when you open up the website, I don't watch news on TV. I haven't for many years. That was a choice I made. I'm really glad I don't now, because it disrupts my peace. I haven't gotten to that enlightened state, as Michael Beckwith did, that I can put the TV on and start praying for everything. I haven't gotten to that state, so I'd prefer to keep my consciousness clear. I get it. It's coming in. We all get it. And we need, more than any other time that I know on the planet, I'm sure there's many other times, but we need to be centered in that peace and that joy. And really, really practice these spiritual principles that we speak about. And not get sucked into the politics and to all this discordance that's going on in this country and actually all over the world. As the Dalai Lama has described it, if we see a person who is crushed by a well, let me go back. I skipped the whole thing. Okay. We did the gratitude. Now we're moving into the seventh pillar, which is compassion. And I love the distinction the book makes between compassion and empathy. Two different things. While empathy is having a great understanding for and even experiencing another's emotions, compassion is a more empowered state. It's a much more impact. Where we want what is best for the other person. That is the compassion. As the Dalai Lama has described it, if we see a person who is being crushed by a rock, the goal is not to get under the rock and feel the pain that that person is feeling, but the goal is to remove the rock off of the person. Compassion, believe this or not, is an innate quality. It's within us all of the time. Just like joy is, just like peace is, just like love is. They get covered up. In fact, scientific studies have even shown that as young as 6 months old, a child will have a clear intention for toys that respect helping others. Goes for that joyful color, that happy color. When we help others, we often experience what has been called the helper's high. Mm-hmm. It's that givingness of oneself. It feels good to give. It's Look at the beauty of this decorating, because people gave. Marianne and Joe and Shabri gave of their time and talent and came in yesterday and started decorating for us, because they were giving. But they get the joy out of creating this beauty for us to enjoy. So the helper's high is, as endorphins are released in our brain, they lead us to a euphoric state. I like this one. The same reward centers of the brain that seem to light up. They see this under, whatever they see it under. You know, scientists do all that stuff. But my grandson asked me yesterday in the car as I was taking him somewhere, because he was in a real questioning mode. He asked me, what do scientists do? How do they do it? And try to answer like an 8-year-old's question, constant. Really wants to know. It's an intelligent mind. But I said, I'm not a scientist. You have to ask the scientists what they do. But, so anyway, go back to the story. It's when you are in the state of compassion, it shows that the light in the brain lights up the same way as when you think of chocolate. Wow. So that really works for me, right? That's the kind of endorphins that chocolate's good. Compassion is great. The warm feeling that we get from helping others comes from the release of oxytocin. This hormone seems to have health benefits, including the reduction of inflammation of the cardiovascular system. So compassion then helps us heal our heart, to have a healthy, happy heart. So compassion is important. In the book it says, the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama had revealed throughout the one of the core paradoxes of happiness. We are most joyful when we focus on others, not on ourselves. In short, bringing joy to others is the fastest way to experience the joy of oneself. As the Dalai Lama said, even 10 minutes of meditation on the well-being of others can help us to feel joyful for the whole day. Even before coffee, when we close our heart, we cannot be joyful. We are able to, this is still the book, we are able to feel our pain and the pain of others, yet we are also able to experience more joy. The bigger and warmer our heart, the stronger our sense of aliveness and resilience. You know, it's so important, and a lot of the times we don't realize how we've closed our heart off. I remember when I had my heart closed down, you know, to self-preserve as a child. So you don't even know you're doing it. It's self-protection. But in the meantime, you can't truly feel joy. When the heart is closed, you can't feel true joy. You can't feel true peace and love. You can't do it. So we might get hurt more often when our heart is open, but I'll take that hurt any day than that closed heart that was so sad and so unhappy. I'll take the pain that comes from having an open heart when I might, just to experience that joy and love. Just to experience those beautiful qualities that you don't even know they exist because you have closed down. You knew it at one point when you were born, but then you closed it down. Self-preservation, self-love, and self-care are fundamental. Because, you know, we have to have self-compassion. But in the Buddhist tradition, it was shocking for the Dalai Lama to hear from psychologists that people had to learn to express compassion, not only for others, but also for themselves. For without compassion for oneself, there is no joy. They learn this as children in the Buddhist tradition, to love themselves. How many of us learned that? You have to love yourself before you love others.
Meditation and that.
The final pillar of joy is the 8th pillar, which is generosity. The Archbishop, this is from the book, I've sometimes joked and said that God doesn't know very much math, because when you give to others, it should be that you're subtracting from yourself. But in this incredible kind of way, you give, and it then seems like, in fact, you are making space for more to be given to you. We teach this in our prosperity class. The more that you give, that's the law of circulation. That flow of giving, the more can come in. You give and it comes in. You keep it going. It's when we get scared and fearful and hold on and block the good. So in the Buddhist traditions, there are 3 kinds of generosity. And all 3 are factors in the opening ourselves up to joy. Material giving, which is time, talent, and treasures, which took place with Marianne and Shabri and Joe. They gave of their time and their talent and their treasures. Then we have, this is a big one, freedom from fear. That's a good one. Which can involve protection and solace, just to feel secure, not to be in a state of fear. And then we have spiritual giving, which can involve giving of wisdom, giving of these teachings that are so empowering, because it teaches us the Father and I are one. It teaches us that Jesus said, this and more you can do too. We can do so much more than we ever realized that we could do. And be. Perhaps the greatest kind of generosity, and the kind that was exhibited by both the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama, is a broad-minded, tolerant. We talked about perspective in the second week of this month. So it was all about widening our perspective, to see things differently, to be patient, forgiving, and kind. And those are the 4 pillars of the heart: forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. Good to know during this season of all of this bustle and hustle and cars that don't know how to drive and shouldn't be on the street. Still working on that, folks. I'll let you know when I really get that mastered. I didn't go to New York this weekend, so this was good. But I want to tell you something. Malton and Cherry Hill and Voorhees were pretty, they were hectic. I mean, people were coming out of nowhere. There were crashes all over the place. I'm like, blessing, blessing. I prayed the whole way in my car. I blessed my car before I even got in the car. I had the boys bless the car before they got in the car. Because we were seeing these cars smashed in all over the place. Where are people going? Well, so again, it's coming back to that place, spiritual centeredness. And then that combines with the 4 pillars of the mind, which is perspective, how we choose to see things, humility, which we talked about, humor, you gotta laugh. You have to laugh. This whole experience of life is pretty funny. It's so tragic that it has to be funny at some point. I look and it's like I have to laugh. And laughter is so good for us. It's so purifying. And the last one was acceptance. So it's one thing to talk about them, and it's quite another thing to actually put them into practice, to do them. But we're gonna do that today through. I'm gonna do a short, to me, spiritual mind treatment, which is an affirmative prayer. But I believe that we're getting we're getting very close to our new decade. Isn't that something? I get excited. It's my new decade, and it's actually the planet's new decade. So it's really, I don't even set intentions. I give it qualities. I give my decades qualities. And so this one, I couldn't get away from the word serene, but successful's right in there, because that was in my 60s too. So I'm bringing success over into my 70s. Can you believe that? Whoa, it's so weird to say. You're young, you don't understand. People used to say that to me, and it's like, when you actually say 70, it's like, holy mackerel. It's weird. It's really weird. It's different than 60. But I'm embracing it. I'm accepting it. I'm embracing all the good that is absolutely flowing in and through and to me. And I invite all of us to do that for the new decade, to open up our hearts, to feel more joy, more peace, more kindness in our lives. So practicing those 8 pillars will guide us and will allow us to have some kind of base. These spiritual teachings that we teach here are just they are empowering, because they're saying that we are capable of anything that we can dream of. If we dreamt it, then it must be possible. Henry Ford proved that. You know, Einstein proved that. Many people over the Wright brothers prove that. I still don't get over the planes up in the air. And they're like flying up in the air. It looks like, how does that happen? But somebody had a vision. They had the vision, and they didn't care what anyone else said, because naysayers are everywhere. They carried it out. So I invite all of us to have a vision, a dream for our next decade. Just have a big dream that you know you're going to manifest, because it's in that knowing that you will manifest. And so let's just go to this place within consciousness. I invite you to close your eyes and just join with me as we set this dream, this vision, this loving energy that is present right here in this room, and I know is present within each and every person, as we access that infinite potential for happiness, for joy, for generosity and gratitude, and for love to absolutely well up within us. These are the qualities of the divine, this energetic field of infinite potential that must be in harmony with itself, or else all of these galaxies would not even be in balance. And when one is altered, it affects everything. That's oneness of life. And this infinite energy is the oneness of life. It is the nature of what we call God, this divine being. Is the nature of it is in harmony with itself, is in balance with itself. And it imparts all of these qualities into all creation. And life being a creation of this energy, we are filled with every quality of the divine that we could even imagine, and so much more, so much more. And so I declare right here, right now, that in this unified field of oneness, that every loving attribute of the divine is an attribute for each one to carry in their heart, to know it's there. It is there. It's present. We might not be able to access it sometimes, but it is present. It's the truth of who we are. And so I do declare for each one here that we move through the holidays, all of these beautiful holidays of the light. As we move through these holidays, we are filled with a sense of peace. That peace that surmounts all understanding. It is beyond what we can humanly understand, but it is a sense of well-being. We are in alignment with this flowing energy of God itself. And so we set our dreams, we dream them, we vision them, we feel them in our heart as if they already are made manifest, are already taking place, getting that vibration of what we desire, so that we can live these lives with joy, in peace, and with a loving heart. And so I give thanks for all of these spiritual truths, these teachings that we have here, that allow us to really embody and embrace a choice. Things happen. We choose how we respond to it. And I'm so grateful for that knowingness that I don't have to choose resentment. I don't have to choose anger. I don't have to choose feeling that all my good was taken away from me. No, I can now know that that good is within me and nothing can change it. It's my divine self. It is your divine self. And I am so grateful for that knowledge, that choice, and the loving energy. That is the truth of each and every one of us. And so knowing that each one's dream becomes the most beautiful manifestation in this new decade, I give thanks. And I release this word into the divine law. The divine law of infinite mind, where this word is made manifest in perfection in each and everyone's life, this day and every day. So.